At 21 years old, I learned that an empty Chuck E. Cheese after closing could feel completely different from the place children filled with noise during the day. I was working there because I was broke and needed the money. My job was basically janitorial and maintenance work, cleaning tables, keeping the play areas in decent condition, repairing whatever needed attention, and making sure the building was ready for the next day. It wasn't glamorous, but I didn't care. A paycheck was a paycheck. My shift usually started around 4 in the afternoon and ended at 10. The location closed at 8 on weekdays and 9 on weekends. But closing time didn't mean my work was finished. I would usually stay another hour, sometimes 2, cleaning everything thoroughly and getting the place back into shape. I also had responsibilities that went beyond cleaning. I had to turn the animatronics on and off, open and close the stage curtains, fix busted arcade machines, and handle whatever maintenance problems appeared. Most nights were routine. This night wasn't. By the time the customers and employees had gone home, I was completely alone inside the building. The arcade had already fallen silent. The voices, footsteps, children's laughter, and electronic sounds that normally filled the place were gone. I was moving my cleaning cart through the arcade, working my way through the remaining tasks. I had already shut down the game machines, and the darkness between the machines made the whole room seem much larger than it had earlier. As I passed a space-themed arcade game, something happened that instantly changed the atmosphere. The machine suddenly blasted its space-themed music at full volume. At the exact same moment, all of its lights came alive and began flashing. I nearly jumped out of my skin. My heart felt like it had climbed into my throat. For a moment, I just stood there staring at the machine, trying to understand what I was seeing. I had already turned it off. I knew I had. Still, I walked over and fumbled with my keys until I could access the control port. My hands weren't exactly steady as I switched the machine off again. There was no obvious explanation. And because I was alone in a large, empty building late at night, something that might have seemed like an ordinary mechanical malfunction suddenly felt much more unsettling. I didn't know it yet, but that was only the beginning. I tried to shake off what had happened with the arcade machine. Machine's malfunction. I knew that. It wasn't impossible, and I wasn't looking for some strange explanation. I had a job to finish, and the sooner I finished cleaning, the sooner I could leave. But the building had become noticeably quieter. I had already shut down the animatronics on the stage. Normally, they were part of the constant background noise of the restaurant. But once everything was closed, the stage was supposed to be completely inactive. Then I heard it. Chuck E.'s laugh. It broke through the silence without warning. It was short, abrupt, and strangely cut off at the end. Instead of sounding like the normal pre-recorded laugh, it almost seemed glitchy. My heart started pounding again. I abandoned the cleaning cart where it was and headed backstage. I needed to see what was happening. When I reached the stage area, I could see the animatronics. They weren't completely motionless. They were in what I knew as their idle modes, meaning they would occasionally move their heads, arms, or other parts of their bodies. That explained some movement. It didn't explain the laugh, and it didn't explain why the situation suddenly felt so wrong. I started wondering whether someone else might somehow still be inside the building. That thought stayed with me as I watched the stage. Then I noticed Chuck E. The animatronic was facing in my direction. Its head was angled downward in a way that made it look almost exactly like it was looking at me. I knew how ridiculous that sounded. I wasn't losing my mind. I understood that it was a machine, and I knew animatronics could move as part of their programmed routines. But standing alone backstage after closing, with the building completely empty, it was disturbing. I kept my eyes on Chuck E. and walked closer toward the control room. I stopped there for several seconds. Then something happened that made my stomach tighten. The animatronics moved. They rotated approximately 90 degrees. And once again, Chuck E. was facing directly toward me. His head seemed positioned perfectly to make it look as though he was watching me. I stood there staring back. Then the laughter came again. This time it was louder because I was standing much closer. And once again, it wasn't a normal laugh. It was broken, glitchy, cut off. I didn't wait to find out what would happen next. I ran into the control room and reached for the switch. I hit the switch and shut the stage down again. For a moment, I just stood inside the control room, breathing hard. The sudden silence felt almost worse than the laughter. I eventually stepped back out. The Chuck E. animatronic was still facing the same direction it had been facing when I left the stage. I looked at it for a moment, trying to convince myself there was some completely ordinary explanation. Maybe the idle programming was doing something unusual. Maybe I had misunderstood the timing. Maybe the earlier noises were just mechanical glitches. I wanted to believe that. I left the stage area through the curtain, carrying that uneasy feeling with me. I remember thinking that perhaps I was simply letting the circumstances get inside my head. After all, I was tired. It was late. I was alone in a building that was designed to be loud and crowded, yet now contained almost nothing but empty tables, dark arcade cabinets, and a silent stage. Then I heard it. The laugh. Again. It came from behind the stage curtains. That was enough. Whatever explanation I had been trying to construct for myself disappeared in that moment. I didn't investigate. I didn't go back into the control room. I didn't check the animatronics one more time. I grabbed my card, went to clock out, and left the building. The cold air outside felt different from the stale quiet inside. I remember being relieved simply to be standing somewhere that wasn't that empty restaurant. The next day, I texted my boss. I told him I had to leave early because I had been feeling extremely sick. He told me it wasn't a problem. But then I asked him something that had been bothering me since the night before. I asked whether the animatronics had some kind of motion detecting feature that allowed them to turn and look at people. His answer was immediate. No, they didn't have that kind of feature. That answer stayed with me, because I already knew what I had seen. I knew Chuck E. had been facing me when I approached the control room. I knew that after I moved farther away, the animatronics rotated 90 degrees and faced me again. And I knew I had heard that strange, cut-off laughter more than once after the building had closed. The arcade machine had malfunctioned first. Then the animatronic laughed. Then it seemed to turn toward me. Then it happened again. And finally, after I had shut everything down, the laughter came from behind the curtain one last time. I could accept a broken machine. I could accept a technical malfunction. What I couldn't explain was why it seemed like the building had responded to my presence.